I'm finally finished. It's got not Tamagotchis. It's got babies. The babies can race for resources. The players can control the aforementioned babies. There's a swing set. There's no violence. Unless you count face planting and erase violence. But I think I can slide by with that one. And now here's a concluding video to this devlog series. Gary says he'll do something, he does it. Eventually. Partially, I got distracted by a quest to restore the Elden Ring, but what I really needed to do was restore my original goals. At some point, pride whispered in my ear and subtly shifted me to thinking I was endeavoring to make something amazing. The weight of making something I would be proud of filled me with dread as the many imperfections of this project paraded before my mind. And so I retreated to that fortress of false safety and comfort, Procrastination. But its walls could not stop the march of time, and march it did, until the year was almost up. Floral Vikings also wanted me to work on EGAD some more with him, and I wanted to do that. But I had resolved this year not to drop any project before it was finished. Besides that, there were the dozen or so of you that have stuck with me since the beginning that I couldn't let down. All this led me to look for a way out of my stupor and re-examine my motivations. I wasn't making this for public adulation. I was making this for my children to appreciate and to learn how to game dev better. And because I told people on the internet I would. And these were things I knew I could and to some extent already had achieved. My kids have somehow spent multiple hours on what little there is in there, and I have indeed succeeded in learning lots of things. With this revelation, my motivation to finish came right back to me. It's kind of uncanny, really. And here we are. Finished, and successful in my original objectives without descending into a coding-induced madness. Though I did come close a couple of times, especially around the new things I was trying. I never found a 3D workflow that felt good to me. I did eventually take Arcani's suggestion of trying voxels, though I ended up using Voxel Max instead because I like doing art on an iPad so that I can get away from my workstation. Almost all the 3D assets, except the furniture, I ended up redoing in that. Were I to do more 3D in the future, I'm not sure I'd stick with that though, because I inevitably ended up needing to import everything into Blender anyways, and adjusting it to get it to work right in Godot. Voxel Max kept nesting things in such a way that Godot couldn't detect the separate pieces to make a mesh library that would work with the grid map node. It would also use a single origin point for everything, meaning that all the tiles were off-center, and I only knew how to fix that in Blender. Godot's resources, on the other hand, made the workflow way less tedious. I talked about them a bit last time, but since then I ran across two more points of interest. First, you want to duplicate them when you want to use multiple instances of a resource that you've previously defined. Apparently, just loading them just gives you a pointer, or something like that, and you end up with weird crossover between them when you start modifying one. Second, if you're going to use them for saving your game across sessions, which you should, because it's way easier than handwriting out a whole JSON object of everything, turns out that Godot doesn't actually save the variables in it that aren't exported. So don't spend an embarrassing amount of time wondering why your save games are empty when everything seems to be saving and loading without error, and just export anything you want to persist. I've also gained insight thanks to all of you viewing my fumbling baby steps on this YouTube channel. I'm gonna be honest, I've just been throwing stuff up here to see what would happen, and it's been more than nothing. Those of you who have commented have been very encouraging and helpful, and I appreciate the time it took. I think, though, the people who say you need a target audience are right. If I'm going to do more YouTube, I need to pick a narrow focus and run with it, rather than just ramble on about whatever I've been working on, like I am right now. In fact, I'm going to put a stop to the rambling right now.